Welcome. Today we will be reading lesson 270 in the workbook and from the text, chapter 23, section 2, The Laws of Chaos, paragraphs 1 through 8. And now for lesson 270. I will not use the body's eyes today. Father, Christ's vision is your gift to me, and it has power to translate all that the body's eyes behold into the sight of a forgiven world. How glorious and gracious is this world! Yet how much will I perceive in it than sight can give? The world forgiven signifies your Son acknowledges his Father, lets his dreams be brought to truth, and waits expectantly the one remaining instant more of time, which ends forever, as your memory returns to him. And now his will is one with yours. His function now is but your own, and every thought except your own is gone. The quiet of today will bless our hearts, and through them peace will come to everyone. Christ is our eyes today, and through his sight we offer healing to the world through him. The Holy Son whom God created whole. The Holy Son whom God created one. The body itself is only a dream. So to use a dream to see could only result in more dreams. For the body's eyes see only the outside form of a thing, and not its content or meaning. Let one see today with eyes of love, instead of gazing at empty shells in a world lacking meaning. Let one allow this day for a forgiven world to arise through the vision of love, healed and made whole in all of its beauty and splendor. The one creation returning to its source in love itself. One watches all illusions fall away as they are brought before truth. And one enters into the silence and the stillness, where one dwells as love created one to be. And now for our text reading for today, from chapter 23, section 2, The Laws of Chaos, paragraphs 1 through 8. The laws of chaos can be brought to light, though never understood. Chaotic laws are hardly meaningful, and therefore out of reason's sphere. Yet they appear to be an obstacle to reason and to truth. Let us then look upon them calmly, that we may look beyond them, understanding what they are, not what they would maintain. It is essential it be understood what they are for, because it is their purpose to make meaningless and to attack the truth. Here are the laws that rule the world you made, and yet they govern nothing and need not be broken, merely looked upon and gone beyond. The first chaotic law is that the truth is different for everyone. Like all these principles, this one maintains that each is separate and has a different set of thoughts that set him off from others. This principle evolves from the belief there is a hierarchy of illusions. Some are more valuable and therefore true. Each one establishes this for himself and makes it true by his attack on what another values. And this is justified because the values differ, and those who hold them seem to be unlike, and therefore enemies. Think how this seems to interfere with the first principle of miracles. For this establishes degrees of truth among illusions, making it seem that some of them are harder to overcome than others. If it were realized that they are all the same and equally untrue, it would be easy then to understand that miracles apply to all of them. Errors of any kind can be corrected because they are untrue. When brought to truth instead of to each other, they merely disappear. No part of nothing can be more resistant to the truth than can another. The second law of chaos, dear indeed to every worshipper of sin, is that each one must sin, and therefore deserves attack and death. This principle, closely related to the first, is the demand that errors call for punishment and not correction. For the destruction of the one who makes the error places him beyond correction and beyond forgiveness. What he has done is thus interpreted as an irrevocable sentence upon himself, which God himself is powerless to overcome. Sin cannot be remitted. Being the belief the Son of God can make mistakes, for which his own destruction becomes inevitable. Think what this seems to do to the relationship between the Father and the Son. Now it appears that they can never be one again, for one must always be condemned, and by the other. Now are they different and enemies, and their relationship is one of opposition, just as the separate aspects of the Son meet only to conflict but not to join. One becomes weak, the other strong by his defeat, and fear of God and of each other now appears as sensible, made real by what the Son of God has done, both to himself and his Creator. The arrogance on which the laws of chaos stand could not be more apparent than emerges here. Here is a principle that would define what the Creator of reality must be, what he must think, and what he must believe, and how he must respond, believing it. It is not seen as even necessary that he be asked about the truth of what has been established for his belief. His Son can tell him this, and he has but the choice whether to take his word for it or be mistaken. This leads directly to the third preposterous belief that seems to make chaos eternal. For if God cannot be mistaken, he must accept his Son's belief in what he is, and hate him for it. See how the fear of God is reinforced by this third principle. Now it becomes impossible to turn to him for help in misery. For now he has become the enemy who caused it, to whom appeal is useless. Nor can salvation lie within the Son, whose every aspect seems to be at war with him, and justified in its attack. And now is conflict made inevitable, beyond the help of God. For now salvation must remain impossible, because the Savior has become the enemy. there can be no release and no escape. Atonement thus becomes a myth, and vengeance, not forgiveness, is the will of God. From where all this begins, there is no sight of help that can succeed. Only destruction can be the outcome, and God himself seems to be siding with it to overcome his Son. Think not the ego will enable you to find escape from what it wants. That is the function of this course, which does not value what the ego cherishes. In today's reading, the first three of the ego's laws of chaos are described. The first law states that truth is different for everyone. Thus, truth is not absolute but relative and alterable. It has degrees with varying difficulty that differ by the individual. Thus, the first ego law clearly conflicts with the first miracle principle, that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. The ego's second law of chaos is the belief that sin is unavoidable, uncorrectable, and requiring attack and punishment. The result in one's relationship with one's source is fear of God, in that one is afraid of being punished. The third law of chaos related to the second is that God accepts one's belief in one's sinfulness and hates one for one's sinful nature. Thus, this third law turns God into an enemy and ends the possibility of salvation. Conflict is ensured, and one is beyond the help of one's source. Yet, when brought to the truth, none of these incredulous beliefs can remain.